Okay, things are fine for now. Okay, so alcohols, you have ROH plus HX. A specific case is when, in this case, HBr is produced in situ. In situ case, indirect method. Okay. Next set of reactions, take alcohol and treat them with phosphorus halides. So phosphorus halides, you have phosphorus trihalide, for example, PCl5. In this case, sorry, trihalide is PCl3. So in this case, because there are 3 chloride atom, like 3 atoms of chlorine, reacts with 3 alcohol molecules. You get 3 of RCl and H3PO3. So basically the OH takes the place of chlorine and chlorine takes the place of OH. That's it. The other kind of phosphorus halide is pentahalides. So PCl5, for example. This is different from the above reaction. It's not like a straightforward direct substitution. In this case, only 1 atom of chlorine gets substituted and your byproduct is POCl3. And you have a special case where it's not a phosphorus halide, you're preparing phosphorus halide in situ. So the way to do it is heating with red phosphorus plus whatever halogen you want to substitute it with. So this you get Rx.
So can I say each one of these process, at least the ones that we know, we have an exception case of in situ?
It's not an exception. It's more of, this is one way to do it. This is another way to do it.
Yeah. So like another way to do it, that means in situ.
Yeah. So only 2 cases, only for hydrogen halides and phosphorus halides. That's it.
Okay.
And then there's thionyl chloride. So this is one step straightforward, one reaction. ROH plus SOCl2, this is thionyl chloride, compound ka name, gives RCl plus SO2 plus HCl. So usually the favorite question related to this particular thing is, which is the most preferred and why? Which is the most preferred method of preparing haloalkanes and why?
So thionyl, the most preferred method of producing haloalkanes is thionyl chloride. It's from thionyl chlorides because the products of this reaction are all in the gaseous form. Oh, the byproducts of these reactions are all gaseous, so they can simply escape out and they give pure alkyl chloride. So there is no need of further separation.
Yes. Okay. So this is preparation of haloalkanes from alcohols in a single page. Of course, you have details about order of reactivities and special reaction conditions and things like that. Okay. All right. After this gets smaller, this is the big major part. Method of preparation from hydrocarbons. So what are the different hydrocarbons do you guys know of?
Alkanes,
None, forgot all of them.
Alkynes.
That's it. Alkanes, alkenes, alkynes. Only 3. There was like one single chapter earlier. Okay. So how can you get like haloalkanes from alkanes?
We've done halogen.
Halogen.
Yeah, halogen.
Do you want to prepare haloalkanes in this method?
I don't mind. If you practically allow us, I don't mind.
If you want specifically, let's say chloroform, like that's a compound that, you know, anesthetic and all of that, right?
Yeah.
Would you want to prepare using free radical substitution?
No, free radical substitution. The problem with free radical substitution is it can get out of hand very easily. because of the number of free radicals present in the reaction.
Absolutely. Yeah. You can't control what product you're going to get. So you'll get a mixture of alkyl halides. You may even get a mixture of alkanes, depending on what free radicals are hitting at that point of time. Yeah. So yeah, if you just want roughly haloalkanes and nothing else, I mean, you don't really care what you get, you can use this method, but otherwise this is like least preferred method of all. Yeah. So this you guys have already studied. You guys know of the mechanism. Free radicals are formed, propagates, termination. Yeah, main points is you get a mixture of alkyl halides because it is free radical, and yield of any one alkyl halide is low. So you can't like do a targeted reaction in this. Okay. Another way is through alkenes.
Wait 1 second. Can you
Oh.
1 second
Okay.
show that? Miss, just a minute.
Okay. You know what? I'll share this PPT with you guys once we're done with all the preparation methods. Easy.
Miss,
Hmm.
the sharing is okay, but you know, some after once you share, sometimes like if you have already written it, then it's better, no, rather than oh my god, I have to open it again and then write. And
Okay. All right. Yeah. All right. Another. So once we're done with alkanes, you have alkenes. If you have alkenes, so basically compounds with a double bond, how do you get haloalkanes from it?
A hydrogen. So if you're
To
looking
add-
for the first step, then you hydrogenation.
Add hydrogen halide HX to the double bond. So this reaction also you guys are familiar with. Addition may follow Markovnikov rule or anti-Markovnikov rule under special conditions. That's also pretty straightforward. Okay. So if you're doing HBr in the presence of peroxides, then you have the peroxide effect follows anti-Markovnikov addition. And if there are no peroxides, if you directly just go through with the addition reaction, you follow Markovnikov rule and you can predict the product. Yeah. And this is only in case you have like asymmetrical carbons across the double bond. We have different number of hydrogens across the double bond.
Ma'am, I'm sorry. So the first method for producing haloalkanes from hydrocarbon is
Alkanes.
halogenation, right? Least
Yeah.
preferred.
Yeah, halogenation of
Okay.
alkanes.
Okay.
I would say least preferred, but yeah, in case
the
something is not-
peroxide effect is the first one, and the anti-Markovnikov is the second one.
No, both of them are the same. Like peroxide effect, because of the presence of peroxide effect, it follows anti-Markovnikov addition.
Sorry. Or array, confusion.
Yeah. Do you want me to go over this again? This particular reaction addition?
Ma'am.
Hmm?
No, ma'am.
No? Pakka? Okay. Okay. So Markovnikov, what is Markovnikov rule? We'll just do a quick revision. You guys answer. In short words. Yeah.
Markovnikov's rule is okay, wait, let me just okay. So it's a rule that means that when a substituent is supposed to be added across a double bond, it will favor the carbon which is the least number of hydrogen atoms and which is the most stable. So
yes.
out of the
Carbon
three,
that
it
has
will
the least.
more likely be a secondary or a tertiary carbon
Yes. Very
to
good.
which the
Correct.
halogen will attach itself to.
Yeah. Another way to look at it is the hydrogen gets added to the carbon atom that is already bonded to more number of hydrogen atoms. Hydrogen goes towards this thing and the substituent will get added to the carbon with lower number of hydrogen atoms. So peroxide effect is the opposite of that. That happens. It's called peroxide effect because it happens in the presence of peroxides. The mechanism itself changes presence of peroxides. Okay. Alkenes, now because you're adding to a double bond, right? So using alkenes, you can also prepare dihalides. So instead of HX, if you make it react with X2, the same thing happens, like each X atom gets added across the double bond. Now, because it is both of them are the same atom, in this case, you won't have anything about, Markovnikov effect or anything like that. So you get vicinal dihalides because two halogen atoms are getting added across the double bond. So this particular reaction is special because this reaction is used to test unsaturation. Okay. So because this is an addition reaction, you won't find this reaction.
I don't know about chlorine. Didn't they used to add like bromine water to test unsaturation?
Yes. So
It was
why
only
is bromine water used instead of chlorine for this particular test?
Chlorine is more reactive, I guess.
I mean, but the reaction is still happening in both the cases, right?
Chlorine requires sunlight.
That is free radical substitution. This is addition reaction.
Chlorine, because it's a diatomic.
How
I
do
think that we
you?
take Cl2.
Bromine also is Br2.
No,
Br2,
so I was getting
I2F2.
to it is that because Cl2 will not break down that easily as compared to Br2. So that's
Not really. How is it a test for unsaturation? Like, what are you doing in that test?
sorry. So Br2 exists as a liquid at room temperature and it has a significant brown color, whereas Cl2 is a gas at room temperature and it only has like it's pale green toxic
It's very
gas.
light.
Then adding
Exactly, but it's like very light and you can't use that for testing unsaturation.
Correct. Yes. So the reaction will happen, but you can't see it. But in the case of bromination, bromine is dark brown in color and you can literally see the change in color there, which is why bromine is used for the test rather than chlorine. Here.
Miss, 1 minute, leave this page open.
Okay. It's gonna be this year's organic is going to be very revision-esque. So already you have studied something that you have come across last year, you're studying it again, Markovnikov, anti-Markovnikov, like reactions of alkenes, in a different context when the focus is on haloalkanes here. So you'll come across a lot of situations like this. So all the preparation methods from alcohols that you guys studied about, we discussed abhi, you're going to get the same reactions again in the chapter about alcohols under properties of alcohols. Like how do alcohols react with hydrogen halides that way.
Okay.
Okay, done?
Yes, ma'am.
So this is the third method. So we have done halogens, we have done hydrocarbons, not halogens, sorry, alcohols, hydrocarbons. Now in this case, halogen exchange reaction. Okay. So you use halogen exchange reaction is basically you are already starting off with a haloalkane and you're substituting a different halogen atom in that molecule. So you can use it to prepare alkyl iodides specifically. So you take either RCl or RBr, make it react with sodium iodide in dry acetone, and yeah, so you get iodohalcane along with NaX, NaCl or NaBr. The reason why this reaction happens is, the presence of dry acetone. This is a non-polar solvent, right? So
Yeah.
because this is non-polar, you see that NaX precipitates out in dry acetone. So the forward reaction is favored. So what is this an
Ma'am,
application?
Question. Sorry. What is I saying? Yeah. So when you say, because it's halogen exchange reaction, here it will follow the same thing, right? Where a lesser reactive alkane is substituted by a higher reactive alkane.
Correct. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Double displacement in which one of the products has to precipitate out. So in order for the byproduct to precipitate out, you're using dry acetone.
What is the name of the reaction?
It's called Finkelstein reaction. All right. So NaX precipitates in dry acetone. So forward reaction is favored. So what is this an application of? Let's see who remembers.
NaX precipitates in dry acetone. So forward reaction is favored.
Focus on this part.
Of.
Focus on
Focus on
this.
what? Equilibrium.
What is the reaction called?
So precipitate.
Isn't it Wurtz reaction?
No. Wurtz reaction is preparation of alkanes. So application of matlab, it should be some sort of law or a statement or a concept.
It should be used.
See, precipitate.
Application of equilibrium only then.
Equilibrium is a phenomenon, like, oh yeah, forward reaction is equal to backward reaction. That's equilibrium. But you're close. Like, it was the concept of equilibrium that you studied, this particular concept. I'll give you a hint. It is a principle. Dash principle. It's a French person's principle.
It's Le Chatelier's principle.
Yes.
I was looking, ma'am, you know what I was thinking? I was thinking about NaX and dry acetone, and where is that used as an application?
So the point is that NaX, like NaCl, NaBr are polar, like they're salts, soluble in water. So that's why you're taking dry acetone, which is non-polar, so that it precipitates out. So precipitating ka matlab kya hai? You're removing it from the reaction mixture. Like Na and X will not exist as Na plus X minus, so they won't have a chance to take part in the reaction. So basically you're removing the product out so that, the the forward reaction will be favored. That is what is happening here. Okay. All right. Another way, another place where halogen exchange reaction is used is preparation of fluorides by heating Rx in the presence of metal fluorides. So you use D block metal fluorides. So you don't use NaF and MgF2 and all. You use silver fluoride, mercury fluoride, cobalt fluoride, and antimony fluoride, SbF3, all of these. So this particular reaction, fluorides, preparation of fluorides matlab, is called Schwartz reaction.
Miss, which metals you said?
Silver fluoride, mercury,
Which? No, no. The
D
what group?
block, D block metal fluorides. So again, in this case, Rx means you can use either RCl or RPR. Yeah. So Finkelstein reaction, preparation of alkyl iodides. Schwartz reaction, is preparation of alkyl fluorides. Grove's reaction is what?
Preparation of haloalkanes from alcohol.
Preparation of from halo acids.
Yes, alcohol plus
Yeah,
halo acid.
alcohols and halo acids. Sorry, my bad.
Okay. So three named reactions we have come across: Grove's reaction, Finkelstein, and Schwartz reaction. Okay. Next, preparation of haloarenes. So we're done with haloalkanes. Now we've got preparation of haloarenes. So preparation of haloarenes. Okay, do you want me to summarize all of the preparation methods of haloalkanes before moving ahead? Okay.
No, ma'am, it's fine.
Just a quick thing. So alcohols we discussed, there were quite a few of them. Apart from that, we have preparation from hydrocarbons. Hydrocarbons means alkanes and alkenes. So alkanes was free radical substitution and alkenes was, yeah.
Sorry, ma'am, the last thing that we did is halogen from hydrocarbons. Sorry, I think I missed one or something. From other
One
haloalkanes.
From hydrocarbons, one was alkanes. There were two for alkenes and two for halogen exchange reaction.
Halogen exchange.
Yeah, so what about from other haloalkanes? So other haloalkanes and
This
using
one only,
silver
halogen
salt
that is
exchange.
still
together,
left.
right?
Silver salts is there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically it halogen exchange and from other haloalkanes is the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I wrote it differently.
Yeah, even I wrote it.
You already, if you take other haloalkanes, you're basically exchanging the halogen atom
Yeah,
already
exactly.
present.
But
The same thing. Yeah, it didn't get the connect. Okay.
We
yeah,
continued it into alkanes from hydrocarbons, so we thought it was like
Mm-hmm. Now this is the third one. Okay, so alkenes is basically alkanes free radical substitution. Alkenes is your addition reaction. So if you add HX, you get
HX.
your haloalkanes. You have a Markovnikov, anti-Markovnikov. And if you add X2, you get vicinal dihalides. Okay, so these are preparation methods from hydrocarbons. And
ma'am, why aren't alkynes included in this? Just out of curiosity.
so alkynes, again, triple bond, right? So you can still
Yeah.
add.
You can still,
This is a
yeah,
good
add
question. So what do you
HX.
get if you add HX to to alkynes?
You get an alkene.
2HX.
I mean,
Yeah, first step you get an alkene and then you continue the
Yeah.
reaction. And what do you get?
so then you get an alkane.
You get an alkane.
I mean, just a second.
Work it out and tell me what happens.
Yeah. So we started off with a alkyne. We
Yes.
added HX to it. We got an alkene, correct? So H C double bond.
Work it out and
C.
tell me what you get when you add 2HX to an alkyne.
I don't know how to name it.
What product are you getting?
Okay, so first I did one HX and I found a double bond. Okay, so basically it's like C double bond C X, no, are two H's, and the two H's. So H and H.
Oh, so you
Yeah, so
took away the double bond also.
Yeah, that is something that I did in the other step. So I don't know if you can see it, but this is what I'm getting.
Little closer. Correct. And what type of dihalide is that? Dhriti?
It's a gem dial. Sorry.
So I'll draw it here what Vitali has drawn. Okay, so what type of a dihalide is this? And Shantanu, you guys also can answer, huh? You're also part of the class. This is something we discussed in the previous class. What type of a dihalide is this?
Vicinal. No. Geminal.
Yes. So these are called gem dihalides. Geminal dihalides. Yeah.
Yeah, so ma'am, it's justified, right? So like,
Yeah.
I don't get it. Why?
No, it's just not there in your textbook, but yeah, this is one way to do it. Like if you want geminal dihalide instead of vicinal dihalide, you start off with an alkyne.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it, ma'am.
Yeah. I'm telling you, like all the reactions you learn, they're all used one way or the other. Like one compound's properties becomes another compound's preparation. That's it. Okay. Then you have halogen exchange reactions. So basically halogen exchange may you start off with a haloalkane and then you replace the halogen on it. So two reactions in this case, you've got Finkelstein reaction and you've got Schwartz reaction. So Finkelstein's may it's used in the production of iodides and this is used in the preparation of chlorides. Okay. So NaX precipitates out. So basically you heat Rx in the presence of NaI and you get Ri and NaX precipitates out, presence of triacetone. And RF, similar reaction, except you take a salt like AgF or Hg2F2, like a D block fluoride.
So ma'am, the fluorides are only like constrained to D block. I cannot use any other blocks fluoride.
Yeah, the reaction will be difficult. Like this is a viable way of producing alkyl fluorides because fluorides are always a pain. Like fluorides, you need to be very careful. Gets violent. Yeah. All right. So final thing, this is not there in the PPT. Like it's not. I don't think it's there in your textbook, but it's there. Like I got it from a different source. So this is if you take silver salts of carboxylic acids.
Okay.
So this is the source of haloalkane. So this is primarily used to produce bromoalkanes. And another, again, this is also a named reaction. So this is called...
The silver salts of carboxylic acids are used to prepare these, right?
Yes. So all of the reactions I have like categorized it by their source. So that is the pattern. Okay. So silver salts of carboxylic acid. You primarily used to prepare bromoalkanes. So this is also a named reaction. It is called Borodin hand sticker reaction.
Huh?
I'll write it here. It's better. All these European names.
Miss, there are like how many 26 alphabets. Couldn't they just name it like reaction A, reaction A1, reaction A2? I mean, so much simpler.
Unfortunately, there's something called
That
honoring the person.
exactly, that does not give them enough recognition that they studied
Yeah.
all their life for, so not justified.
So Borodin hand sticker reaction. This is how it goes. Pretty again, this is also you take a carboxylic acid, a silver salt,
Medicine.
AH3, COO minus, silver salt, so Ag plus. Then treat it with bromine, the presence of CCl4, carbon tetrachloride, is the solvent basically. So you get CH3Br plus COO escapes as CO2, and you end up with again silver salt. So this is more of, okay, this is an additional reaction, FYI kind of a thing. Be
Okay.
useful for like competitive exams and things like that.
Is it given in the textbook, ma'am? I'm not sure.
I don't think this
No.
particular one is given.
This
Yeah,
is not
because the
there.
last thing in the textbook is silver salts.
No, this is silver salts, right?
Yeah, no, but it's like it's a very
This
small
part,
thing.
yeah,
Swartz.
this part is not there.
Okay.
The only one, so I think it's only for fluorines.
Swartz
it-
reaction is the one that's mentioned.
Exactly. I think that's it.
Okay. So these are the different methods of preparation of haloalkanes. Haloarenes, coming to haloarenes, it is not as extensive. It is pretty simple, just like maximum 4 reactions you would have, 4 different methods of preparation. One of which you are very, very familiar with. So preparation of haloarenes. First one is electrophilic substitution of aromatic hydrocarbons.
Okay.
So this you guys have studied aromatic hydrocarbons. Simplest one is benzene, but yeah, you use toluene, you use phenol, like all of these compounds, aromatic compounds.
This you'll be sharing the PPT, right?
Yes. So this is a simple electrophilic substitution.
Okay, ma'am.
So this is something you guys are familiar with.
Yeah, so do we need to remember the reaction mechanism for these preparations, or simply the reaction agents will do?
Reaction agents will do. Good to remember the mechanisms in case, just in case, basically.
Okay.
Another point you need to remember about this is how do you, like, if instead of benzene, if the given compound was toluene, so are you going to get a ortho product, meta product, or a para product in that case?
So that depends on CH3, whether it is a ortho directing or para
Yeah, so is
directing.
it ortho directing, ortho para directing, or meta directing?
It is ortho para directing, right? So it will either become 2 bromotoluene or like 4 bromotoluene.
Yeah,
2
it's not,
bromotoluene.
it's not either or. You get 50-50 of ortho and para products.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Those
Okay.
are the major products, and meta is minor. What about nitrobenzene? Is that, so will you get a
That's a
meta product or ortho para?
Directing group. It's a meta directing group.
Meta direct.
So
Okay. So those are the kind of twists that you'll get on these kind of questions. Yeah. If you already have a halogen that is substituted, like if you take chlorobenzene and you substitute another chlorine atom onto it, then what type of product are you gonna get?
I think it's orthopara.
Yeah, chlorine is orthopara. Even though you
Yeah.
have inductive, but because of the resonance,
Yeah.
that becomes orthopara.
It's orthopara.
So yeah, so in such cases, when you have ortho and para isomers, they can be separated due to their difference in melting points. So why is there a difference in melting points between ortho and para isomers?
Can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the difference in melting point in ortho and para groups is mainly because of the structure of the molecule. Ortho and para structures, like if I'm taking the example of a para structure, that
Mhm.
means one is at the top and one is at the bottom. It is very symmetrical in nature. So breaking a symmetrical molecule requires a higher amount of energy than breaking an
Okay.
unsymmetrical molecule.
That is one factor, but that is not the main factor.
Oh, okay.
Dhriti, any ideas? No? Why? Shantanu, Ansh, what about you guys? Main difference in ortho and para isomers? Like in this context, like in ortho haloalkanes and para haloalkanes. Do you guys remember this concept of hydrogen bonding?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, still hasn't clicked. So that is the reason. So let's say you have,
Hydrogen bonding.
let's say OH and Cl, and you have OH and Cl. Now, what do you think is going to happen between ortho and para isomers? Like, what's the difference between ortho and para isomers in terms of their hydrogen bonding?
I think we did this. Wait, I don't know. Yes, ma'am, the structure, can I draw it? Can I do something like that?
Just
So
two
when
words.
you-
Just give me those two words and
wait, I know that. Yeah.
Triti still blank. And Shantanu, you guys give it a shot. Like, send your answer on chat, no?
Okay, I might give someone a hint, so might as well try. So when we draw the structure, so the meta directing group or ma'am, I'm gonna draw.
Okay.
It is complicated to explain like that. Okay. So, ma'am, a basic thing is when one molecule is trying to attach or trying to form to another molecule, I think in an ortho para group, it's much easier than in a meta group.
If we're talking
And
about only the difference between ortho and para isomers, because
okay, sorry.
that is the only two options you're going to get. Like, forget about meta, like for now.
Oh,
So what kind of hydrogen bonding will you find in an ortho group, and what type of hydrogen bonding are you going to find in their para isomer?
we're gonna find a stronger hydrogen bonding in the ortho group and
No.
less.
I mean,
or vice.
the groups involved are the same, only the positions are different. So strength has nothing to do here.
Oh,
So ortho groups like orthoisomers have intramolecular hydrogen bonding. You see that it's restricted to within this molecule itself. It's able to exist independently. But in the case
Yeah.
of para-isomer, you have intermolecular hydrogen bonding. So this is connected to other molecules of other molecules, basically, right? So that is the reason this has a network with other molecules, which is why breaking the bonds between two molecules is more difficult in para than it is in ortho. So boiling points, melting points are going to be greater for para than ortho. Like basically that's the root of the difference in the melting points.
So ma'am, could you give like a statement?
Statement for about?
How can one separate
Difference,
like
yeah, difference between
Yeah.
ortho and para.
explain why one can separate ortho and para something based on a melting
It is
point?
due to their melting points, and if you have to elaborate on it, just mention the words intramolecular and intermolecular. So orthomolecules have intramolecular hydrogen bonding, whereas para-isomers have intermolecular hydrogen bonding, which is why para-isomers have higher melting points than the orthoisomers. So to help with your explanation, like if you have extra time, you can draw these structures and explain how ortho is different from para.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
So ortho, sorry, para has a higher melting point than ortho. groups.
Yes. Yeah. And this is the main point. So these two, even if you get 50-50 of them, they can be easily separated by just fractional distillation. Pretty easy to do it. But I
Okay.
wanted to remind you guys about hydrogen bonding because we'll be coming across hydrogen bonding throughout organic chemistry. Okay. Okay. So reaction with iodine is reversible. Again, because iodides, HI is pretty reactive. It can, yeah, like you need to take away HI because HI in general is pretty reactive compared to HBr or HCl. We saw that before also. So that is the reason it requires the presence of an oxidizing agent so that that oxidizing agent will remove the HI that is produced. So commonly used oxidizing agents are nitric acid, it's a pretty strong oxidizing agent, or HiO4. Forgot the name of this. It's not hypoiodic. I think it's iodic acid, but yeah. So either nitric acid or HiO4. RF cannot be prepared. Again, fluorine is highly reactive. It's violent and uncontrollable. So you don't use this reaction for RF. So the two end cases, two extreme cases, with chlorine and bromine, it's pretty straightforward. But with fluorine, it's highly reactive, so you don't do this reaction. With iodine, the product that is formed, HBr, or in that case, HI formed is highly reactive, so you need to take special care to remove the HI. Right. Then, another method of preparation is from amines. You will come across this reaction again when you're studying about amines. So this particular reaction is called Sandmeyer's reaction. It is, again, a named reaction is pretty important. So how you do this particular preparation process is, so this particular compound is called aniline. So amine group attached to benzene is called aniline. So you dissolve aniline in a cold aqueous mineral acid. So usually cold aqueous mineral acids are like HCl, like you need a acidic condition. Then you treat this with sodium nitrate to produce something called diazonium salt. So this particular group, like whenever you have nitrogen, it's basically an azo group, like you have azo dyes and all of that. So this N triple bond N with a positive charge over here is called a diazonium. Like if you have come across N triple bond N with a positive charge, so this particular group indicates it's a diazonium salt. Yeah, two N groups. Indicates that it's a positively charged, it's a cation. So yeah, this particular group is, this salt is called a diazonium salt.
Ma'am, so you said N triple bond N plus, that is called diazonium salt, or N triple bond N plus bonded with a Cl
With,
atom is
not
called
with the
a
Cl. So this is an anion. So basically N triple bond N R.
plus
This
that
is a
is
diazonium
R, okay.
salt.
Okay.
Here you're starting off with aniline, so the R is a benzene group, which is why you get this. So the Cl minus is purely like, because you have a cation, it attracts an anion. So if you take H2SO4 or something like that, you get HSO4 minus ions attached to it. So basically, this treating an amine with a mixture of this produces this and another anion, like a B minus.
Okay. So ma'am, the first step is aniline plus HCl. HCl
Yes.
is my thing. So
Yeah,
when it says
cold
treat,
aqueous mineral acid.
okay,
and
first
treat
thing.
this mixture with sodium
Sodium.
nitrite.
Okay. So aniline plus HCl, aqueous HCl plus NaNO3 will
NaNO2.
give me NaNO2, sorry, nitrate, no, will give me the diazonium salt.
Yes.
Okay.
Then
Okay.
you mix this with a cuprous halide to get your haloarine. So what halogen you take along with copper over here will decide what halogen you're going to get over here.
Ma'am, what happens to the ozonium salt or group?
This disintegrates, I think N2 escapes, and then you have a copper salt forming as a byproducts.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically that group is being substituted by the alkane and the diazonium salt or whatever the thing is. Group attaches itself to copper and comes out as a byproduct.
Yes.
Okay. Complicated stuff. Sorry.
It is kind of. I think nitrogen gas escapes out. I will have to check the exact mechanism of the reaction.
Okay.
Yeah, nitrogen gas escapes. So nitrogen won't combine with copper. This particular bond, when it breaks, the byproduct is N2 gas.
Okay. So that will escape.
Yeah.
Ma'am, so what about the Cl there?
That here, mineral acid, whatever salt you get,
Okay.
yeah, if it is strong enough, it will combine with chlorine, you get copper, you get a copper salt, or they are there in the solution as acid plus copper that way.
Okay. Got it, ma'am.
Okay. So Sandmeyer's reaction, you start off with aniline, which is amine attached to benzene ring. Treat this, like this reaction is to be done in the presence of a cold aqueous mineral acid. Treat this with sodium nitrite, you get diazonium salt. See, the nitrogen source of nitrogen is the nitrite group here. Then when you treat the diazonium salt with cuprous chloride, the cuprous chloride or bromide, that particular chloride or bromide will decide what halide you're getting in the end. Okay. So the source of this chlorine is not HCl. So you see that here I took CuX. That is why I'm getting X over here, not chlorine. Here. So this is Sandmeyer's reaction. That's it. So that's all for the preparation methods for haloarenes.
Oh, ma'am, could you just go over the preparation methods and haloarenes? Like, what were they? Sorry.
Yeah, just two of them. First one was
Yeah.
direct electrophilic substitution,
Oh,
and the second one is Sandmeyer's reaction.
okay, so that's it.
So
the
there
only
is
thing-
one variation in this. In place of cuprous chloride, you can use, again, indirect method basically. So in place of cuprous chloride, if you use copper powder, like a mixture of copper powder plus HX. So instead of having a direct cuprous chloride, you're using a mixture of copper powder plus HX. Then this particular reaction, instead of Sandmeyer's reaction, it is called Gattermann reaction.
Ma'am, is it fine if we stick to Sandmeyer's reaction?
Yeah, for now you can stick to Sandmeyer's reaction, but you'll come across Gattermann reaction eventually in amines.
Oh, so like there is
Cross
no
the
what?
bridge when we come to it.
Yeah. But yeah, FYI, just like with HX, just like with PX3, even for CUX, for cuprous chloride, instead of using it directly, you use a mixture of copper powder and HX, then that particular reaction is called Gattermann reaction. Product will be the same, just how you do the reaction is different. And another note, like I just mentioned, use cuprous chloride or bromide, right? In case you want an iodide, for iodides, use Ki.
If you have to produce a different haloarene, we just simply change our last step where we use the CUX. Okay.
Correct.
Before that, everything remains the same.
Yeah. So you need to get to this diazonium salt, and you can see that it's made of cation anion, right? So it's not like you can store a diazonium salt and something, like you need to prepare it immediately, and then you can do this.
Okay, ma'am, got it.
Cool. All right. So this ends our different methods of preparation. Cool. I'll do one thing. I'll send you guys questions based on preparation methods mainly. And in case you need some practice, I can send you for nomenclature and such also. Nomenclature, I would suggest use that quiz because again, it's an online software, right? So they have millions of different, if not millions, like hundreds of different types of questions, and they'll make you draw the structure also. They'll make you figure out where the functional group is. That's a very good resource.
I think we used that when we were like doing nomenclature in grade 11.
I had.
Yeah.
It's a very good resource for nomenclature.
So, ma'am, can you
Miss,
share
you'll be sharing the
PPT as well, group?
I'll do
Yeah.
that. Yes, I will send
Yeah.
those
Okay.
file over.
Okay.
There's
Bye,
some
miss. Thank
typos
you, miss.
here, right? So I'll just correct that and I'll send it.
Okay, ma'am.
And
Thank
miss,
you, ma'am.
just this the first salt ka naam I forgot already.
Which one?
Here
Diazonium.
only in this.
This
No,
is aniline.
Sandmeyer's first one.
This is aniline.
Aniline.
Huh, so that was
Yeah,
Yeah.
dissolve aniline in a
Okay.
cold aqueous mineral acid. You take aniline, dissolve it in cold aqueous, for example, HCl. You treat this with sodium nitrate, you get diazonium salt. Then final step, treat diazonium salt to get your chloride or bromide. All right. Okay. Cool.
bye, miss. Thank you, miss.
All right.
Thank you, ma'am.